Alright, welcome back. Time to battle. As you can see, I'm currently only rank 40. I was even outside the top 50 in the last 2 days or so, after some fairly unsuccessful and intense brewing, playing some decks that didn't pan out so well for probably a bit too long, costing me too much rank. And I started climbing back up with this Rakano list and some other stuff, and currently only in the top 40 again, but now it's time to try and climb back into at least the top 20, top 15 for the end of the season basically. But yeah, got some work to do here, and this Rakano deck is definitely a good choice to gain back some of that rank. Plus some other stuff that I got going on that you might see in future videos. But yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. Sometimes if you try really hard to make something work and find out eventually that it's probably not gonna work well enough, you're just gonna lose a bunch of rank no matter how well you play. Especially if yeah, the deck also has some lopsided matchups and you run in the bad end of the matchups basically. I toyed around with some echo heavy illusion decks, also featuring Crown, and those decks have very lopsided matchups. The deck is not even necessarily bad, it's actually quite strong potentially, but it has a bunch of really good and a bunch of really bad matchups basically. I think I want to just risk it here and block and Finest Hour. I mean, if he has Torch I get blown out, but my draw is fairly weak. But yeah, regarding that, the Crown decks, Rakano and Stone Scar decks are really terrible and really hard to beat, while at the same time a lot of these other decks like Feln and time-based decks are really great matchups and actually pretty hard to lose. So it really depends on what you run into when trying these decks. I think I went 15-15 or something with that deck on ladder, and part of it was 1-6 against Rakano because I happened to run into a lot of Rakano, since between Unearthly and True Dawn there's currently quite a resurgence in Rakano again. So yeah, there's a lot more Rakano, and I probably also hit a pocket of Rakano with that deck, and that's definitely not what you want to do, as you can see by a 1-6 record. And then you end up outside the top 50 quickly, because consecutive losses stack up pretty heavily when you're that high ranked that late in the season. Every loss costs you a ton of points. And people are pretty close together, so every loss that costs you a ton of points also costs you a ton of places. Alright, so we have 10 health versus a bunch of strengths, but if he trades, we trade against 3 of his units, that's fine, and definitely wouldn't mind getting rid of the Champion of Glory before it comes to 7-7. And yeah, this way I think the best way is probably just kill this, and I think actually killing this is better because of the Warcry. Then we can trade here. Then he has only a flyer left but no Warcry, since I usually don't want to give my opponent free Warcries. That ends very poorly, especially when we are behind. If he then pulls ahead by getting a bunch of Warcry triggers and a big Warcry unit, it's very hard for us to recover. I mean, maybe the attack was a bit too ambitious. Not sure though, it doesn't seem like it's gonna get that much better for us by waiting. We're just behind on cards, and he just has all the time to just wait and find a Vanquish plus a way to pop our Aegis and kill our guy, and then we are so far behind that we just lose. And yeah, this game is over. He outdrew us. Definitely lacked some interaction and early momentum there. Lost the mirror, unfortunately. Bit disappointing, given that I had like 65 to 70% in the mirror in the past when I played a lot of Rakano. But I mean, sometimes it happens. Descent's decent. Crownwatch into Ijin is pretty nice. And for that matter, so that we can really curve that, I'm gonna start with the monument so we can smoothly curve out. But yeah, I used to have like close to 70% win rate in the mirror over like a huge sample size when I played a ton of Rakano in the beginning. Alright, get our Crownwatch out. So this looks like it might be Armory, which is arguably not that great for Rakano, but what can we do? Also, Armory is definitely on the decline currently. With so much time around, giving Armory fits. Alright, so yeah, I think dropping Ijin is the best plan here. Like, if they have an answer, they're gonna have to kill Ijin here most likely, which means we get to drop Hammer of Might on Crownwatch. And if not, we can play Enforcer and protect our Ijin with Finest Hour and then use Ijin the next turn on Enforcer. That would have been pretty impressive. Alright, so we got our hammered Enforcer as hoped. And this is one of the spots where you can definitely notice the nerf, because now if he has an Auric Rune Hammer, he just can cleanly kill our Paladin, which he couldn't have done before. But he doesn't, so that's good. And even, unfortunately, like, it still matters because now his 7-2 Rune Hammer next turn still beats our Crownwatch Paladin through our Finest Hour, which is annoying, but not much we can do about it. That was kind of bad. Should have played Enforcer first to silence the Artisan for like future stash applications. It's not gonna be that relevant, but it might matter. It was just sloppy. The usual sloppiness that sometimes happens to me when I'm like commenting and thinking about a million things and talking about stuff that's not related to the current turn and the current board state. But I mean, as long as I catch it and point it out to tell you guys how to properly do it, it's not a big deal. Alright. These games are really not going that well for us right now. But yeah, I mean, Armory is known to be like a bad matchup for Rakano. Although, to be fair, in my experience, the matchup hasn't even been that bad. Just fairly draw dependent. But cards like Torch and Finest Hour do a lot of work in that matchup to gain or keep momentum and counter weapons as removal on our units. But yeah, if we flood out like this, that definitely hurts a lot against Armory. But yeah, drawing an 8-7 Ijin is definitely not bad. Although it's kind of a bit annoying, because if he's holding a Vanquish, he actually can just Vanquish Ijin now, which he normally couldn't. And Ijin is like the last unit that I want to be like this big. Because I rather activate her than attack with her. Alright, so get in there. We're definitely in like an okay position still. I mean, he has the Warhammer. He probably has to kill, like he has to kill the Enforcer to not die to Ijin. He cannot kill Ijin, so because otherwise he would die to Enforcer, so he has to kill Enforcer, which means we can still pump the other enforcer, so if he doesn't have an answer for this, he's still dead. He has like a pseudo answer, goes to 2 if we don't draw anything. And I think he's being too conservative. He should have attacked with one of the wardens as well. Or maybe even like with both wardens and not with the artisan, because if we draw a torch or a finest hour, he's dead either way. So he needs to just raise and give himself a shot at like winning the game before it gets out of hand, and maybe force us to not be able to attack him at risk of dying. But yeah, we drew a torch, so easy fix. Who said Armory is a bad matchup? I mean, we were pretty flooded and still beat him through a stash. I guess a harsh roll would have like completely blown us out, but I mean, if we don't have everything, it's fair if he doesn't have everything as well. Alright, last game for this first part of the game video series. Alright, gotta redraw with 1 power. This is much better. Wouldn't mind another like 2-drop off the top, or at least another 1-drop plus finest hour on turn 2. But we'll see what we get. Our prayers have been answered. Now maybe we even get like an additional 1-drop for the nut start. Alright, so the big question here is, do we finest hour this? No, I think we don't. It's just not worth it. Like, there's so much he can drop that still trades with it or stalls it out that it's not worth it. What the hell? Guess our opponent is like color screwed and power screwed or something? I don't know. I'll play another game because that wasn't really a game. But yeah, that's what you sometimes get. Opponent stumbles, you play aggro, curve out. Opponent concedes because he has no chance of like ever recovering from it. It's one of the nice upsides of aggressive decks. Alright. This is a bit questionable hand. Like, it's actually a pretty nice mono justice hand, but it is still a mono justice hand and it doesn't have a 1-drop, so I think we can do better in terms of not being monocolored and also hitting one of our 1-drops. So I'd like to redraw this still. But it is a hand that is like close, I guess. Gonna play Seed 21 here so we can play Ronin on turn 2 and still use Torch or Finest Hour. Alright, so now I think I'd rather just play the Crownwatch so we can next turn either play Champion plus Ronin or like any combination of these 4 cards. Let's get in there. Kind of expected Desert Marshal, but no Desert Marshal. That's fine. Then we just curve out, dump our hand, make up for the missed 1-drop on turn 1 by going double unit on turn 3. That's like why 12 1-drops is kind of nice, because the deck has so many 2-drops that you can often go 2-drop, 1-drop on turn 3. Like, one of the best draws of the decks, like 1-drop, 2-drop into 2-drop plus 1-drop, or 1-drop into double 1-drop, basically. Let's get in there. I think at this point I might want to hold back on Ronin, but I'm not sure. Like, if we drop Ronin here, we have like 10, 16 next turn, so we have theoretically lethal if he doesn't do anything. I think it's fine. I think I kind of like that. Especially since Crownwatch survives Harsh Roll anyway. And I think we should kind of punish our opponent for like dawdling too much. And I'm gonna torch this here just in case we draw like a hammer off the top. so we can play our Warhammer. That's annoying. But at least, like, given what we see, it's not likely that he's playing harsh role, so that's good. Nothing to be afraid of next turn. And then it's not gonna be too likely for him to, like, recover from this. I guess, like, the scariest thing I could see is something like Finest Hour, play Power, play Fury, attack, because there would be, like, gain 20. But yeah, he doesn't have the nuts of what his deck is likely doing. I mean, I expect him to play Righteous Fury in his deck. But yeah, too early to that. Alright, that's it for the first half of the games. We went 2-1, or if you count the color power screw concede, 3-1. See you in a moment with the second half of the games.